Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spor each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hello, beautiful, beautiful souls. This is your host, Jennifer Spor, and I want to officially welcome you to this very first episode of Path of the Awakened Heart. I am experiencing a whole spectrum of emotions right now. I'm so passionate about this work and about this new podcast, and there's just a lot that is on my heart that I want to share with you. And I'm going to do my best to try to summarize everything into this first episode today. You know, I have been focused on my spiritual path for a long time, for many, many years at this point. And even since I was a little girl, I have always been really passionate about helping other people, to heal, to feel happiness, to feel joy, to feel love, to feel full in their lives here. And like so many others, I have been on this quest. And, the quest of self-mastery never ends, right? Because we're all eternal students. So there will always be an opportunity for ascension, right? There will always be an opportunity for learning. And that being said, this is what I'm here to do, is to support you, the listeners, on your path to remembering your wholeness, because you are already whole, and to remember the true divine nature of who you are, which is love. We are living in such a transformational time. Up to this point, for thousands and thousands of years, we've lived in a society, in a world here that promotes conformity, that literally is structured in the opposite way of how we are created as human beings. Our divine nature is to create, is to be unique. And like so many other things, we have reached a time where these structures are crumbling right before our very eyes. The last few years have been a great example of that. And I'd love to say that, the conflict is over, but it's not. But the best way for all of us to contribute to raising consciousness on the planet is to focus on ourselves first, is to focus on how we are showing up in the world, who we're choosing to be, and the choices that we're making. You are here to make a difference through fulfilling your own individual path to ascension and mastery, and to sharing your soul's gifts in service to humanity and Mother Earth during this great time of revolution, really revolution in consciousness that we are experiencing. it is time to take our power back. It's time for all of us to awaken our hearts to who and what we truly are, which is love. So knowing this and applying this can sometimes feel like a different ball game, right? And this is really important because we live in a time where there is a ton of information out there. And it's a blessing to have all of this plethora of information in the world. And it's a blessing to have access to the technology that we do. There has really never been a more amazing time to live in, where we have such easy access to support us on our ascension journey. But sometimes, despite having all of this information, we hesitate to apply the wisdom that we learn. And so we just keep on taking in more and more information, thinking that that is going to change things for us. Confusing planning, confusing taking in of information with action. And while there is obviously a place for that in our learning, sometimes we just need to take action. So, how can you take action, right? What are some things that you can do to really open your heart, to really fully show up in the world as who you truly are? And some of what I'm about to share, you may already know. I would ask that as I'm sharing the information, reflect, on how fully you're applying what I'm sharing in your own life. So the first thing, and I talk about this a lot in my world online, and that is to follow your intuition, to follow your soul's guidance. Our heart is, the intersection of the spiritual and physical. This is where our soul's guidance resides. It is so important to be tapped into that voice. The societal programming, the ancestral programming, there's just so much programming that we've all been exposed to around that we have to make all of our decisions for our life with our mind. And while our mind serves a purpose, it's not meant to be the star of the show, so to speak. It's meant to have more of a supporting role. Our intuition is meant to guide us, because our minds, if we only make decisions with our conscious mind, will always make decisions for us based upon past experiences and what we know to be safe, which is actually very limiting. Our intuition is always going to guide us toward expansion, which again is our divine nature. It's always going to guide us toward what will bring more love, from within ourselves and to the world. So being tapped into that voice, however that comes through for you, and having the willingness to trust yourself enough and to trust God enough to follow it and take action on it. That's the big one, right? That's the biggie, because sometimes it feels a heck of a lot harder for us to trust something that makes absolutely no sense to us, whatsoever. Yet that's what we need to do. That is what we need to do. We are literally here changing the way that we're living. And this is not a new way to live, living a soul-led life. Things were this way in ancient times. And so this is where we're being guided back to. And Another big topic is surrender. And you probably hear this a lot, right? Surrender to God's will, surrender. What I want to say about surrender is that if you can attain and live in a state of surrender to God's will for your life, everything else will so much more easily fall into place on your ascension journey and in what you're here to do and what you're here to contribute. Our society up to this point has taught us that surrender means defeat. I mean, it says that if you look it up in the dictionary. I mean, it's quite interesting. Inversion is maybe another podcast episode, another conversation that I'll have about how much inversion there is in our society. But for now, surrender. Surrender, if you look in the dictionary, it implies defeat. That is the direct opposite of what it means. Surrender to God's will means to align with God's will for your life, to align with your own divinity. Aligning with God's will, aligning with your divinity is synonymous to your joy, to living in joy, to living fulfilled, to remembering your wholeness. That is really important. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is another one. We are programmed, again, with the society that we've been living in, so many of us are programmed to judge ourselves, to judge others, to live in a society that promotes lack, to feel like there's always something missing. And it's important to forgive yourself for judging yourself, to forgive yourself for judging others, to forgive others for judging you, to forgive others for whatever they may have done to you and in the world, to have the willingness to forgive. And boy, when you do that, will your heart ever open and expand in the greatest way? I mentioned judgment, and I want to expand a little bit on that. It is so important to have the willingness to let go of judgment and to have compassion and understanding. The truth is, and if you're listening to this podcast, you probably already know, right? We're all souls. We're all beings having a human experience here. We are in this world, but not of it. And that means that each and every being on this planet is on their own journey and in a unique place on their journey. So whenever we're feeling triggered by a person or a situation, having the willingness to, rather than to react, having the willingness to step more into an observer role and just notice. And remember that each person is on their unique path and that they may not, and that they're likely not in the same space that you are in. Our own reality is subject to our individual experiences, our beliefs, and the frequency that we're at. And so there are these billions of people living on the planet, all just kind of living in their own reality. It's pretty amazing, actually, when you consider how complex and just amazing that is. So yes, having the willingness to let go of judgment and seeking to come from a place of love. In our day-to-day lives, we live in obviously very busy times, and we live in a very distracted culture. And so getting intentional about making decisions for yourself, for your life, and in your day-to-day, coming from a place of love is an easy way to live in alignment with your highest path, right? So if you're ever unsure or feeling indecisive about something or even someone, you can consider your decisions and ask yourself, is this coming from a place of love or from a place of fear? That is the easiest way to validate your decisions, to check in with yourself, and checking in with yourself intuitively, of course. The key to living our highest destiny here is through the heart. It is through awakening the heart. And all of what I've shared here today, even just in considering the topics, that I've covered here today, really, really deeply embodying all of those, really not just knowing them, but applying them, embodying them, will change your life and change the world. I'm going to leave the conversation there today. There will be so many other conversations that we will have about the teachings of the heart and living from the heart, and we're going to have some just amazing guests on the show as well who are living the path of the awakened heart, and I can't wait to introduce you to these amazing people and to have so many more beautiful conversations and time with all of you. So thank you so much for listening, and I am wishing you the most love-filled experience here. Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspor.com.